Hello there. I am here today to show you how to make future bass. In this genre everyone sounds different. But in this video I'll show you a bit of my style. So without further ado, it's gonna be a long lesson, so strap on because we're in for a bumpy ride. First of all, in this genre you are fucked without a melodic element. So to start off you want to decide if you want to make a remix, hire a vocalist or use a melody. I think I'll make a remix, considering I have a remix license open on SHADOWKEY Music. Let's take a listen to the song.
If we could last forever and ever, then we would.
Sounds good. I think I can make something good with this. By the way, if you want to make a remix, SHADOWKEY Music is a good place to start looking for vocals. As you can see here, the song is in A minor. Since A minor is all the white keys, using it is really easy. Knowing that we can make some chords. Here are the banger chords we are gonna use. Nah, just kidding. Here are the actual chords we are gonna use. You can also see that this track is in 102 BPM. Let's listen how fast that is.
If we could last forever and ever, then we would.
Well, as you can hear, it's a bit slow. So why not crank it up a bit? Okay, that's maybe a bit too fast. But after a bit of tweaking with the BPM, I found 134 to be the nicest BPM with the acapella.
If we could last forever and ever, then we would. Long as the gods will let us keep this loving going till it all loved out.
The acapella is also a bit dry, but that can be fixed with a bit of simple mixing.
Last forever and ever, then we would.
Now with all that settled, let's start with the track, shall we?
Through the silence.
Better. Let's of course start with the intro. The intro is quite simple. It starts with this side-chained pad. And a bit of mixing. Here is the sound design, a basic sine and square wave, with a 2-bar house-like sidechain with 173 Hz cutoff. I also have these vocal chops playing through the whole intro. I unfortunately don't have footage of me making the chops. So I hope me explaining what I did is good enough. To start off, I cut out some sounds from the acapella. And then I put a shit ton of reverb on them. Then I consolidated some of them and I reversed them. After that I put the same amount of reverb as earlier on them, and made a layer by consolidating the whole chop, pitched that up and harder, With that method I got these chops. In the second part of the intro I've added some more elements to get the flow going, like this string. I also introduced this bell art that I'll cover more later. Plus this bass to give some low end to the intro. Now for percussion and effects. There is this muffled beat. And this overused cymatics ambience sample. And a reverse cymbal for a smoother transition. Now we have arrived at the verse. The verse is going to be the shortest part of this tutorial, so I decided to merge this section with a break. Let's start with the verse. For the verse I used this pad again, and this bell that I said I would cover. With a music box layer. And now together. Here is the bell preset in Serum. I got this preset from a Serum tutorial that I'll link in the description, but I'll try to summarize it as best as I can. It uses wavetables that are similar to sine waves, with a CMB filter, and some distortion with reverb. And for the mixing I used some more reverb for a more spacey feel, and to add to that I used some delay, plus some sound goodlizer to make it stand out. I also put some EQ on it so it works better with other elements. For the music box layer I used one of the music box presets from Labs. And the mixing is basically the same as the bell, except it's a bit more muffled. And we have this rim that plays throughout the verse and break. And this pre-shifted snare for the break. And then to make it complete I added another snare. And a kick off course. Let's add some hi-hats. Yeah, that's basically everything worth mentioning. So let's move on. Here we are, at one of the last steps, the bridge and build up. Now I merge the bridge and build section together, since they are both really similar. The bridge and build up are really important, since if they are done right the drop hits hard as fuck. So let's get into it. I use the string from the intro again to make it way more epic, and I introduced the drop chords with a low pass filter. I also added these plucks for some rhythm. The pluck consists of basic inert and saw waves, with a long envelope and a filter. For effects it has some chorus and some dimension to make it a bit spacey. I also added some layers to the acapella, like this layer that sounds like it went through an old telephone.
We both know this could be over, but right now, just hold me closer, kiss me like it's the first time.
And this one that sounds like it comes from Nightcore. High-pitched vocals sound really bad on their own, but if they are still in the same key as the acapella it sounds dope as fuck. Even though you might already know that, I thought I'd point it out. Anyway, back to the track. For the build percussion I added this trap snare. And a kick. In the build up I also added a build loop cause I'm late. I mean it gives more energy. And some FX for even more energy. It wouldn't be future bass without a tom fill. Now let's build up to the last section. Here we are, at the final section, the drop. The drop is probably the longest part. So let's get started. Let's start with the percussion. We have a simple future bass beat. By the way, here is a super top secret little tip for the boys, to get a mitis vibe snare. Pick a random pre-shifted clap and yoink the pre-shift effect from it. Put it before a snare. And bam, here you go, a nice mitis vibe to the snare. I also added a ride for some high end for the percussion. And a hi-hat loop in the second part of the drop. And this tom fill again. Now finally for the drop synths and stuff, I have this vocal chop. To make these chops I first picked a random sound from the acapella and put a shit ton of reverb on it. Then I made that sound follow the bass notes from the chords. After that I added this reversed version of the chop on it. Then I put some other sounds from the acapella on top of it and then I got these chops. Every song needs a sub bass. And multiple bass layers. And now all together. For the first bass there is a basic inert wave with a pretty big LFO. And for FX there is some dimension and flanger for a bigger effect. And bass 2 has a half square wave, with a dome LFO. We also have a side-chained arp to go with the chords. The up is, again, really basic, with some basic square and init waves with the envelope on the cutoff. We here have the drop chords, which consists of 4 layers. And here are the drop chords combined without mixing. And now with mixing. Layer 1 is an ultrasonic preset that consists of 2 saw waves and some flanger, with a 1-stroke 8 volume LFO. Layer 2 is a detuned square chord with 16 semitones. Yeah, there isn't much to say about this layer. And here we have layer 3. Layer 3 is a wider preset that's made out of a triangle, and init waves with a nice big dome LFO. Layer 4 is a more chill preset. It's made out of the same sign-like wavetable as the bell, and an square wave with a filter on it, for some mid-end to the chords. The mix is quite simple. I compressed it a bit, added some reverb and cut the low end, and that's basically it. I also added some pitch bend and LFO increasement for some movement to the chords. That was basically everything I wanted to cover. So let's move on to the final result. Wait. I forgot to cover something extremely important. Okay, we can move on to the final result.